As he has done every year for the past 30 years, activist and coup survivor Wendell Eversley made his annual trek from the Dial in Arima to the Red House on Tuesday morning. Mr. Eversley said he does this so the government can fully recognize the day of the attempted coup, which took place on July 27, 1990. He said the matter was heard before the Caribbean Court of Appeal and 12 recommendations were made to Parliament. He believed Chapter 11, which details the events of the coup, should be adopted.
Today, as I walk from here to the Parliament, I do hope that the Honorable Prime Minister, because he's the head of the executive, he have the authority. He have the authority to go to Cabinet and say, let us put it and make it mandatory that July the 27th, 1990, we will not be forgotten.
Many people, including a former MP, Leo Devines, were murdered that day by a group of insurrectionists who stormed the Red House and the Trinidad and Tobago television network.
We must remember those who lost their lives. We must remember the pains, that the suffering of the hostages in TTT, the hostages in the Red House, who are alive today, who go through trauma, even when this day comes.
And later that afternoon, Mr. Eversley arrived at the Red House in Port of Spain, where he was met by a number of staff members of the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. Heavy rainfall did not delay the proceedings, as they accompanied Mr. Eversley, who laid a wreath at the eternal flame. 31 years after the coup, broadcaster Dennis McComey says he believes that the event has not had a good effect on our country.
The events of 1990 didn't make Trinidad and Tobago any better. On the contrary, it took us back many, many years, and we're still trying to heal and recoup from that situation. A lot of people don't realize it, but a lot of the emotional and psychological stress we feel now, a lot of the dysfunction, a lot of the corruption and the endemic and systemic prejudice and discrimination have come all as a consequence of that onslaught against democracy.
Mr. McComey said he believes that justice was not done in the trial of the men who held the country hostage for 6 days.
It tells us that the justice cannot be considered in this case. That it was because of time and because of delays and because of all kinds of legal technicalities that these people were not rearrested after a very, very long time. So the decision by the Privy Council was irresponsible and inaccurate and conceived, I think.
The survivor of the attempted coup says today, July 27, should be commemorated as a day of prayer as the nation works to recover from the negative effects of the attempted coup of 1990. And like living through an attempted coup, current life during the COVID-19 pandemic, in addition to daily stressors, can leave a lasting impact on a person. Secretary of the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Psychologists, Deborah Lee Rivers, said that the impact of trauma may not always be apparent at a glance.
It's not something that you always see. So they cope. They cope pretty okay. They work, they eat, they live, they take care of their families. But if it is that you really want to start looking at it and getting help with it, you have to understand that trauma disconnects a person from themselves. There's a certain disconnect whereby a certain part of your life it's just not there.
And Association President Wendy Jeremy said that healing from trauma requires facing the issue, usually with help, and transforming it to eventually reduce its power over a person's life.
So that if we allow ourselves that, then we can say, well, we could start to resume living as we lived before the trauma occurred. So the event has to be transformed, integrated, digested into our lives. And that's how we deal with it. We try to make it become a part of us, part of the memory, not being afraid of it. Because if we avoid it, we can't get over it. So we have to face it.